Almost 2 years ago now, Destiny 2 would have its greatest glitch in the franchise's history. On February 27th in 2021 during Season of the Chosen, a 12-man raid exploit would be discovered. And as with all exploits in Destiny, it was time to test it out before it was patched.
Wait, we can put all flags down at the same time.
Right. 3, 2, 1.
This is definitely making up for all the flags I never placed in my life.
Oh, mine didn't work. Wait, what the fudge? I was holding it.
Texas gang!
Yeah! He's on? Oh, that's not Celestial. That's Stompy's. Orbers?
I hit him with it.
I am so close.
I got mine again.
I'm almost there.
Get
out of the way.
Oh my god, dude. Let's go, man.
You know.
Tractor.
I missed again. I missed. Okay, I hit it.
What do you mean you missed?
I hit it. Okay, we better not wipe, dude.
Commit!
Yeah, of course. There's no door to access.
Wait, one phaser. Let's go.
Nice.
Imagine wiping there, dude. What the?
That's DPS.
No.
Oh, it's DPS! Oh my god, I'm not gonna. Wow, I was not even like there yet.
Wait for him to go up.
Orbs.
Orb, please.
I got mine. Go.
Got mine.
Hit crit, go.
Yo,
let's go!
Baby.
No.
Really?
Someone laughed at me.
She's like, stop it!
Jeez. Oh no.
Oh my god!
Wow.
Wow!
That was easy.
So how did it work? What allowed players to take advantage of this glitch? Well, in a nutshell, when an activity would begin, one fire team would then need to immediately join another. This was of course easiest to accomplish on PC using join codes, because all you would need to do is dial in the timing. For example, if you wanted a raid with 12 people, you would need one fire team of 6 people to join another fire team of another 6 people with a single invitation. And if the timing was right, this would bring the other 6 people into the raid, making it a total of 12. The same was also true for dungeons and nightfalls. This exploit was also possible on console, however, due to the absence of join codes, the timing and execution was a bit more challenging. Now, naturally 12 players inside content meant for 3 or 6 made all these activities much easier, but instantly a lot more fun. It took roughly 2 weeks, but Bungie ultimately did put an end to the fun. But during those 2 weeks, many players found a renewed sense of enjoyment with the game. This unintended bug breathed a new life into the game, and the question on everyone's mind at that point was, what would it look like if Bungie actually implemented 12-man raid content into the game officially? Destiny 2's infrastructure could obviously handle 12-man fire teams, as there were only minor dips in frame rates depending on your system, and fire team stability seemed mostly fine, so it's definitely possible to see this come into the game officially at some point. It reminds me of how when 343 said split screen for Halo Infinite's campaign was basically impossible, yet the player base figured it out with an exploit on their own, and it works almost flawlessly. If it can be done with an exploit, it can be done officially. And with Destiny 2, 12-man content just needs to be a thing. Large-scale fireteam content is one of Destiny's many areas of untapped potential, and I think before we even get into the discussion of big team battle PvP or an equivalent big team PvE mode, let's first just discuss the idea of 12-man raids and 9-man dungeons or nightfalls. A more basic idea could be a difficulty option which scales up for 12 players in a raid. Simple stuff like doubling the health of bosses since you've now doubled your fireteam size, and maybe the enemies are a bit more above level than you, and there's just simply more of them. Other ideas could go a bit deeper though. Additional modifiers, tweaked mechanics for 12 players, and perhaps even exclusive loot from the challenging 12-man versions of the raids. Currently, the content in Destiny 2 is curated in its design to service the 3 and 6 fireteam limits, in most cases, one exception being something like Escalation Protocol, which allowed up to 9 players in the activity space, and because of the difficulty of that activity, all 9 players were pretty vital to a successful run. And where I think Bungie could possibly break away from this fireteam count restriction is most notably in the 3-player content: dungeons, strikes, and nightfalls. For instance, how often do you find yourself playing with your friends, and there's let's say just 4 of you, and you want to do nightfalls or dungeons, But as a group of 4, you can't. Instead, there's only 2 options for 4-player fire teams: Gambit or Crucible. You would need to split up the fire team and do the dungeons and nightfalls separately, as it stands right now. And I have run into this problem way too often: the need to exclude 1 or 2 people from activities. And it sucks. A solution might be to scale the difficulty of an activity for each additional member in a fire team. The Witch Queen Legendary campaign did this with fire teams up to 3, where for each additional player, the content got a little bit harder. And I think doing the same thing but with a fire team limit of maybe 6 or even 9 would be a pretty fun idea. Raids have a similar idea. Sometimes there's 7 or 8 of you and you want to do a raid but you can't, you gotta leave 2 people out. So fire teams of 7 or 8 or 12 being possible with scaled difficulty would also help solve that problem, and could also help new players get into the raiding experience without as much pressure for mechanics. I'm not saying that this is a perfect solution or idea. I'm sure there's more things to consider in terms of the balancing and the reward structure if something like this were ever actually introduced into the game officially, but I really think Bungie ought to look into more ways to give larger scale fireteam activities across the board. We've been stuck with the 3 or 6 player limit since 2014. And if Bungie wants Destiny 2 to become a real MMO game, they gotta give us the massive part of MMO. Give us the big team battles, the 12 or more player sized raids, or at least let us partake in the current content with larger fire teams. And this reminds me of a video I made a couple months ago called Endgame Patrol Zones in Destiny 2. And in the video I talked about world tiers and world bosses, and I really think 9-man or 12-man content in the open world would be awesome and completely fitting for this game as well. Like I said, if Bungie really wants Destiny 2 to be considered an MMO, it's gotta bring us some awesome large-scale PvE content. World bosses in other MMO games are incredibly popular and very fun to take down, and unfortunately, public events just don't cut it in terms of challenge or presentation. They're designed to be finished solo even, if you have to. And if Bungie wants to keep that version of an open world PvE style option for the casual players, then let it be, let it exist on its own. But Bungie should look to create an endgame world tier where maxed out players can go in and take on these more team-focused challenges in the open world. Large-scale world bosses. Let players bring in a fire team of 6, 9, or even 12 players if they want. We need some more escalation protocol style events happening in the open world, because EP was so good. Maybe have the world bosses on rotation like the Lost Sectors, or maybe bring back the Flashpoint idea from Vanilla D2, where one week a specific planet is active for this endgame world tier content. That would be awesome. Because as it stands right now, I think it's just a bit unfortunate that patrol spaces are really just kind of there. There isn't much value past a certain point. And I think an idea like endgame world tiers and world bosses would help them achieve a more MMO feel. And be sure to check out my endgame world tier video if you want to dive a bit deeper into that idea. But let me know what you guys think in the comments section. Should Bungie work towards 12-man content in the future? Fire teams that are possible at any size that scale up in challenge like the legendary campaign setting? Or should we stick to a 3 and 6 player limit on all the content? Give me some pros and cons of this idea in the comments. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you all in the next one.